The fuse is already lit, and August 15th may be the spark that sets the entire system ablaze. The United States government is about to hit its debt ceiling again. But this time, the number isn't just shocking, it's system-breaking. The national debt is now surging toward $37 trillion, and as of early August, it's sitting just under $36.8 trillion. That figure alone should stop anyone in their tracks. But what's coming on August 15th is different. It's not just a bureaucratic deadline. It's a psychological breaking point, and the markets are pretending it's not happening. Here's the core problem. This isn't a sudden emergency. It's a slow-motion collision. For months, the Treasury has been using so-called extraordinary measures to avoid default, moving money between government accounts, delaying payments, and pulling every financial lever possible just to buy time. But by August 15th, those measures run out. That's the X date, the point where America's cash drawer finally hits zero. And the options on the table? All of them are dangerous. Congress could raise the ceiling again, but political appetite is running thin. Other so-called workarounds are even more extreme, invoking constitutional emergency powers or rerouting Treasury authority entirely. Each option risks destabilizing global confidence, because none of them actually solve the root problem. The debt only keeps growing. Let that sink in. Just the interest, not the principal, is devouring over $1 trillion a year. And that's at today's rates. If borrowing costs rise again, the math collapses even faster. Here's where it gets deeper, more pivotal, because while the media frames this as a political standoff, the real players are already moving. Wall Street knows what's coming. The big money isn't waiting for a fix. It's building a new foundation. In the past 12 months, institutional players have quietly begun shifting away from traditional treasuries into a new class of financial infrastructure, tokenized instruments. We're talking about tokenized treasuries, blockchain-based yield systems, and decentralized settlement rails that can plug directly into a global digital economy. It's not hypothetical anymore. It's already being built. BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Goldman Sachs have all launched pilot programs or funds that issue real-world assets on blockchain infrastructure. The quiet message underneath: trust in the existing system is fading, and they're positioning themselves for something radically different. A system that's faster, more efficient, and more open. And here's a surprising twist. This may not be a centralization play at all. It could be the first step towards something freer. Tokenized treasuries aren't about reinforcing the old walls. They're about designing new architecture from the ground up. Infrastructure that can operate 24/7, eliminate middlemen, and settle instantly without legacy barriers like SWIFT. If trust in traditional debt instruments is eroding, what better way to restore it than through transparent, automated systems that people can actually audit and verify? Meanwhile, the rest of the world is pivoting. Foreign holders of U.S. debt, especially China and Japan, have been exiting treasuries at the fastest pace in years. That's not speculation. It's de-dollarization in motion. And it's not just about geopolitics. It's about technological alignment. These nations are realigning themselves before the foundation of the old system gives way entirely. That brings us back to the psychological flashpoint of August 15th, because once the U.S. officially runs out of emergency accounting tricks, confidence becomes the only thing keeping the system afloat. And confidence, as we've seen time and time again, can vanish overnight. This is what makes the moment so important. Not the default itself, but the realization that the U.S. might be preparing for something even more profound than a ceiling raise or a bailout. It might be preparing for a technological reset, a full-scale shift in the very DNA of money. And if that sounds extreme, remember this: the signals have been here all along. Not long ago, Donald Trump made a strange remark that the U.S. could pay off the debt with a little crypto check. At the time, it sounded absurd, but in retrospect, it feels eerily prescient, because now we're seeing a convergence of factors that point to that very path. Digital issuance, blockchain-based debt instruments, and bipartisan moves toward digitized monetary infrastructure. Ask yourself, why are the same institutions that built the old system suddenly pivoting to tokenized finance? Why are legacy firms investing in platforms that move beyond the Fed's rails? And why does all of this align so perfectly with the pressure point of mid-August? The answer isn't control. It's evolution. The system isn't trying to cage itself. It's adapting and doing so rapidly. Let's pause here. The public narrative is chaos. Gridlock. Dysfunction. But beneath the noise, it's innovation. The gridlock creates the space. The dysfunction creates the window. While everyone debates the debt ceiling, the infrastructure for a freer, faster, and more adaptive financial system is being quietly embedded into the global economy. And here's what almost no one sees coming. Once tokenized treasuries become normalized, the next step is programmable finance. That means features embedded directly into digital instruments, dynamic redemption, automated compliance, smart risk protocols. In other words, rules encoded into systems, but with the potential to serve users instead of restricting them. That's not a threat. That's a choice, and it all depends on who builds it. So what happens after August 15th? Either Congress acts or it doesn't. Either the Treasury uses accounting magic or it defaults. But none of that changes the direction, only the speed. The truth is, the system passed its breaking point long ago. What we're watching now is a final act of denial before digital transformation kicks into high gear, and it won't be announced with fanfare. It'll emerge quietly through new rails, new tools, and new methods of exchange. You'll wake up one day and realize the financial system has quietly upgraded, not to trap you, but to offer something more dynamic, more resilient, and more aligned with the world we live in now. The question isn't whether the dollar collapses tomorrow. The question is whether the version of the dollar that survives will finally evolve beyond the limits of the past. Because a new class of financial tools is emerging, backed by logic instead of politics, empowered by code instead of committees, enabled by open networks instead of closed gates. That's the real story hiding inside the debt ceiling drama. This isn't just about default. This is about architecture. This is about transformation. And if you've been paying attention, you'll see that Washington and Wall Street aren't scrambling to patch the old code. They're onboarding a new one. Quietly, strategically, and yes, rapidly. So before this video ends, let's leave you with one final thought. When Trump made that offhand comment about paying off the debt with a little crypto check, it was dismissed as a joke. But maybe it wasn't a joke at all. Maybe it was a hint, a quiet nod to the shift already in motion. And now, as August 15th approaches, that shift is accelerating, whether the world is ready or not. If you're one of the few who sees what's coming, you already know what to do. Subscribe to Wealth Signal and stay ahead of the reset. The next system won't arrive with bells and whistles. It will arrive through cleaner rails, smarter contracts, and more interoperable money. And underneath it all, it could represent something powerful, the return of true financial agency, made possible by technology, not threatened by it.